No More Silence Survivor Support Group. If any of you want to light a candle for hope and peace, please be. Oh yeah, for the ones we've lost, sorry.
Okay, listen, okay. I'm just going to put my hand up and the minute silence will start, okay? As I say, feel free. We have some lighters. Has anybody got lighters? Can somebody throw some lighters on the floor? Can we have some lighters, please, so that people thanks? I've got a load in my bag. Can we have some lighters? Thank you. Just thank you, thank you. Right. So at the minute silence, feel free to come forward. Okay, I'll put my hand up now and the minute silence will start now, okay? Just to stand up, just to stand together. I don't like any candles now, just stand up for the second tune.
Right, so we'll get started then. Can everybody hear me speaking? I don't want to have to shout. Can everybody hear me? Right. So for those who don't know, what I'll do is I'll just read out. Can you not hear me? Serious? Louder. Can you hear me now? Yeah. Right, so just before I start, I'll just read out the back of our flyer about what the event's about, then I'll kind of like get stuck into things and other people will have an opportunity to speak and stuff. So this is about this event. So we're inviting groups across areas where current CSE is manifesting itself on your streets, and our children are being sexually exploited, groomed, raped, trafficked and abused. In these same areas, there is a history of non-recent sexual abuse that has failed to be addressed by the authorities and ignored. It has happened in family homes and institutions. Collectively, we have been failed to date. For our campaign work in Rochdale, acting in silo has achieved very little. We recognise that we need to stand together as one. This event is about us standing together and being heard. Alone, we are easily swept under the carpet. We are calling survivors, family members, support groups and activists and members of the public to come together on this day and be heard together. Sexual grooming, rape and sexual abuse of children needs to be in the public interest. Be part of the generation that says enough is enough. Survivors from up and down the country have come here today to speak and to share their experiences. Sorry, I didn't think I'd be shouting. Yeah, so my name's Danny. I'm from Shatter Boys UK, which is a peer support group and a campaigning group as well. So I also work for the National Inquiry into Child Abuse. I'm on the Victims and Survivors Consultative panel there. So that's kind of sort of a bit of my job and what I do. I myself am a survivor. I was sexually abused from 5 to 10 by my grandfather. What that did for me is it smashed my boundaries, to be honest with you. It left me really vulnerable. My mum and dad weren't about, so I think I was left like sort of easy pickings. When I was at school, I was really disruptive. That was the impact that the abuse had on me, and it played out in ways in schools. I went to 9 different primary schools, got moved about a lot. And was branded a little shit basically, and that label stuck with me, and that's something I carried through my life, and that's something I also hid behind as well, because it was a good mask. It was a good mask so people couldn't see into me and kind of see what happened. I couldn't explain what happened either because I didn't have the words. I couldn't put it into words. So by the time I went to secondary school, what I did is I found drugs, and that's how I coped for many years. So when I was 15, I was approached by a guy at school who took me under his wing, became like sort of my father figure. What he was doing basically, I know this now with hindsight, what he was doing, he was grooming me. The reason I share these experiences with you is because I use my story as a vehicle to hopefully inspire hope. That's why I talk about my personal stuff, basically. So this guy groomed me, got me on drugs, was feeding me drugs from 15 to 21. I was stuck with him, and you might say, well, why didn't you leave? Why didn't you do him in? I was only skinny, I was only slight at the time, I was still that frightened little boy, to be honest with you, and he took advantage of that. The reason I didn't leave is because I was hooked on drugs. So by the time I was 15 at school, I was addicted to heroin and crack, you know what I mean? So there was no kind of like sort of getting away. And a big thing of mine is professional curiosity, all the way through growing up and into like sort of adult, into my 30s really. Nobody sat me down and said, Daniel, what is up with you? None of those teachers, see how my behaviour was like displayed, didn't question why I was behaving like that, and I find that quite upsetting, to be honest with you. And that's one of the things that we like sort of challenge and encourage today, professional curiosity. If you spot those signs and symptoms in a child, teenager or vulnerable adult, don't be terrified of asking the question. If you're a professional, don't be frightened of asking, have you been through some kind of trauma when you was younger? Nobody who I've spoke to has ever shattered into a million little pieces, yeah, from being asked that question. I've seen breakdowns come from that stuff, but what I've also seen is breakthroughs. You know what I mean? I've seen people get into recovery and people get well, yeah. So when I was in my 30s and I found a drug worker, what he did is he sat me down and said to me, Daniel, what is up with you? Has something happened to you when you was younger? I didn't have the words to explain then, but fortunately for me, yeah, this person was a survivor, yeah. He shared his experiences with me, and I said, thank God for that, because boys and men like me don't talk about this stuff where we're from, do you know what I mean? So for somebody to do that and break down them taboos, what he did, that guy, is he gave me a gift that day. He gave me a gift, and that is when I started to heal, and that's when I started to get better. It didn't happen overnight, as we know. You don't get better overnight, and I'm still in recovery from this stuff, but he did a great thing for me that day. Anyway, that's enough about that. So, why we're here today, what we believe the fight is, our fight is on the ground, yeah? We believe our fight is to get survivors, yeah, of non-recent childhood sexual abuse and CSC, yeah, behind us, backing us, yeah? Because if government, the police, social services, those in a position of power and authority are going to listen to us, yeah, that I believe, yeah, that they're only going to do it collectively, and we need a right team behind us, a team behind us of people who understand, a team behind us of people who've been through this stuff, yeah, and can share that message of hope. This is why I talk about my story as well, because the thing is, there's nothing special about me whatsoever. I was just fortunate enough for someone to share their stuff with me. That's how I got better, yeah. That's why we do the stuff on Facebook. That's why we're speaking now, yeah. So hopefully somebody will look at me and think, he was off his head, yeah, he was a waste of time. You know, when the police looked into my case, what the CPS said and what the police said, because you was a delinquent when you was a child, you are not a credible witness. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, what do you do with this stuff? What you do is, they say you can't polish a turd. What I've done is I polished the turd, and the turd being me originally. Do you know what I mean? You know, because I wanted to make something of my life, and I wanted to show those people, yeah, who said I was a waste of time, it would never amount nothing, yeah. You know, that I wanted to share my experiences, yeah, and prove that you can get better from this stuff, yeah. You know, unfortunately, one of the main things what people say to me, have you got a magic wand? You know what I mean? Then they say, have you got a vodka? When I say no to that, you know what I mean? The thing is, it's a lot of hard work, working on yourself, looking into yourself. It's dark, do you know what I mean? But what I truly believe, what today is the start of our journey, yeah? A start of our journey together, yeah? We're here to make friends, we're not here to make enemies, yeah? We're here to get people on board with us, yeah? Especially the public as well, yeah? Because childhood sexual abuse, it's so unpalatable, and CSC is so unpalatable, yeah? Is it any surprise it's not in the public interest? People don't want to talk about this stuff, you know what I mean? But what we're doing is, we're bringing it to people's kitchen tables, yeah? Because we believe this stuff needs to be talked about appropriately with children, yeah? Just like the Green Cross Code, body safety, personal safety, boundaries, yeah? That's what our agenda is, yeah? And our agenda is change as well. We want change, we want to be heard. And once we get enough people behind us, yeah, then we can start going to government, then we can start challenging them, because they can't ignore us all, they cannot do it, you know. And for those people, I'm not saying anybody here, but for those people who believe that childhood sexual abuse is not happening in institutions and child sexual exploitation is not happening on our streets, what a load of bullshit, yeah? I've got teams here of people, lads from different teams, yeah, who are getting dozens of cases in between them a week, yeah, of current CSC, what is going on, and still current failings, yeah? So what I'm going to do is, I'd like to thank everybody for coming and making the time and effort to come down today. Your support is really appreciated, yeah? But it's not about me, it's not about one person, it's about everybody, do you know what I mean? And there's some other people here today who'd like to speak, so a bit of the organisation's gone out the window, because I'm not that organised, to be honest with you. I just kind of like sort of do what I do in it, and try and carry a message of hope, you know what I mean? Just before I land over, I'm not like sort of singling people out, but I'm not going to say his name, but I'll just say something what really hit me like a sledgehammer across the head last night. I was speaking to a guy, yeah. He turned up at Trafalgar Square. This guy had not been out of the house for 7 years, yeah. Barely answers his front door, yeah. He's got off his arse, he's got off his backside for child protection and to carry a message, yeah. And he was in Trafalgar Square last night where there was hundreds of people, you know, and this is why we do this stuff, yeah. We need to smash this isolation. We need people to believe that they can get into recovery and they do deserve to get their lives back. You know what I mean? So I'm just going to call someone else up next to speak. Mike. So this is a colleague of mine, Mike, from our Uprising team. So Mike's also from a group called Dark Light, which is a paedophile hunter group. So what we've done with the Uprising team, yeah, we've got every facet covered, yeah, we believe. We've got people who are conferred to everybody. We've got everything covered, we hope. Do you know what I mean? And we're looking for new people to join the Uprising team, yeah, and come and share their skills and experience. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a wave, a tsunami through the UK. This is just the first, this is day dot, yeah. This is the first place that we're visiting, and we're going to be hitting other cities throughout the UK. And my friend over there, Andy, you know, he said, like, you know, but what next? What's going to happen? What can I take away from today? You know what I mean? And I think you know, what I'd hope people can take away from today is a message of courage and a message of hope and a message of things can change and things can get better. I've just told you what's happened to me in front of how many people. I'm not behind there in the fetal position, do you know what I mean? And there's nothing special about me. I've just found my voice, you know what I mean? And other people can do that and get into recovery. So I'll just introduce you to my friend and colleague Mike, who's going to say a bit.
I'm going to stand behind here just because it's... Come on, Mike. Firstly, you don't understand how empowering it is for someone that's a survivor to see so many people that are and aren't survivors standing together as one. You know, as a survivor, you don't, when you're going through the abuse and the trauma, you don't foresee that you're going to be this strong person that where you're able to stand up, you're able to stand against what happened to you. You're no longer defined by what happened to you. And seeing you guys here, seeing everybody that's standing here against sexual abuse of children and the stealing of souls of our children it's just magical to see. Absolutely magical to see. My story, I went to the police at 27 after going through abuse as a child. The police didn't really want to know, they were more interested in safeguarding my abuse as children. And as a part of that, I decided that I was going to take a stance and try and fight back in my own way. I did the usual things, drugs, alcohol, relationship to relationship, lack of trust, lack of understanding of who I was. And that's, you know, from every survivor's point of view, I think every single survivor will go through either identical or similar sets of circumstances until they get to a point where they find themselves. I found myself now, so I can stand here in front of you just like Dan can, and I can say to you that I'm a survivor and I'm proud to be a survivor because I'm still here. But I can't say to you that when the bagpipes were playing before, I wasn't thinking about the people who weren't strong enough to make it here today. You know, this is a stance against the stigma, the taboo of being a survivor, the taboo of child sex exploitation. This is a stance against all of it. And it's so important that we're all stood here today, standing against it. You know, there's so many cameras that I can see around, and hopefully this is being broadcast far and wide, because that's the message that we're here to give today. This is about spreading this message far and wide, showing survivors out there who aren't strong enough at this moment in time that there is strength. And all you need to do is disclose, all you need to do is speak to somebody about it. You know, are there any people there that aren't survivors, just out of curiosity? If you're not a survivor, put your hand up. Right, okay, so for you guys, I want to give a message to you, because there are people out there who are survivors like me. But prior to me finding who I am, I was completely lost, caught up in drugs, caught up in alcohol, and there was no one who saw that I was in self-destruct mode, because I was too scared, maybe from a masculinity point of view, but I was too scared to tell people what had happened to me. And now, it's about the people that aren't survivors, empowering the survivors, picking survivors up. If you know someone's gone through some stuff when they was a kid, talk to them. Ask them if they want to talk about it, because you could be the difference between that person taking their own life, that person going and, you know, taking overdoses, So many people we see sleeping on the streets in London. You know, we went for a walk last night, there's homeless people everywhere. And I can guarantee, categorically, without any shadow of a doubt, that part of that homeless population is down to being abused as children. Where's the justice in that? Where's the justice for these people who've had their souls ripped out as children? There is no justice, so that's why we're here. That's why we're forming an alliance of you know, multi-organisations. Yeah, I'm a paedophile hunter. I'm not going to talk to you today about being a paedophile hunter, because today is about empowering survivors, and that's the only thing that we're here for. For every survivor that is here, you don't understand how proud you make me. How proud to stand here in front of you and to represent you, because nobody has ever represented survivors before. No one's ever stood for what we've had to go through. No one's ever had to deal with the trauma that we've had to deal with in our own ways. And it's not trauma that's left by the person, it's trauma that's left in your own head. You're left to live with it. You're left to live with the mental and emotional scarring that you didn't choose to embrace. You didn't choose for that to happen to you. It just happened. You had no control. So to all the survivors that are here today, I applaud you. Every single one of you for being brave enough to come out and to stand up and to say, I am a survivor. You should be proud. You should be so proud. And you know, more to the point, for the alliance that we're now forming, we plan massive, massive things. This is just the tip of the iceberg. I promise all of you that this is the tip of the iceberg. The next event that we're planning it's in the early stages at the moment. The next event is going to be in Manchester. We're going to take over Manchester City Centre because we can, because we've got a voice, and because it's important for us to be heard. So guys, I'm going to leave you with Dan. Thank you very much for listening to me today, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Can I have Dave from Safe, please? And if anybody would like to speak, just give us a shout if you'd like to speak.
Normally I speak, but because I've stopped for time, I've actually not been. I've been asked to come and give my testimony today, and what we're doing in Scotland, what's happening. Louder. I've been asked to come and give my testimony today and speak about what's happening in Scotland. I run an organisation called SAFE, which stands for Seek and Find Everyone Abused in Childhood. I started this a year ago, and in the last year more than 600 people have come forward to say they were abused in childhood. I'm a survivor and campaigner of historical child abuse. I've been asked by Danny and Shatter Boys UK to come and talk to you today about what I do and what my vision is for victims and survivors of historical child abuse. I've known Danny for some months now, and over this period I've got to meet a lot of his friends, and I've also travelled all over the UK, from London to Leeds, Manchester, Bristol, Belfast, Cardiff and many other places. You see, for some time I've been thinking about and trying to get a UK-wide child abuse campaign group together, where we could go around the country looking for and encouraging survivors to come forward and have their voices heard and access to justice. I've had this vision and passion of keeping historical child abuse in the public eye, and to get a message out to every victim and survivor all over this country that there is a way out, and you can come forward, and you will be believed, and you will and can get the support you need. Now I've found someone who had the same vision in Danny, and we've been working together since to make this happen. Last November that vision started to take shape for me. I gathered a group of survivors from Scotland, England, Northern Ireland, Wales, and we gathered together in George's Square in Glasgow. We stayed there for 3 days. At that time I felt this could be the start of something big, and if this was done right, we could give people power so that they can affect real changes in policy and practice, both for children in the future and adults suffering the impact of abuse and neglect now. I'd like to quickly tell you what got me to this stage and how I achieved it. I'd like to start by giving you my testimony. I spent the first 16 years of my life in Catholic-run homes in Scotland. At the age of 10 I was sent to St Ninian's in Fife. which was run by the Irish Catholic Christian Brothers. And for the next 6 years I was brutally raped and trafficked all over Scotland and Ireland and raped by multiple men. I was taken into rooms where I was hung by a rope, blindfolded and raped. I was also taken to houses in Glasgow and all over Scotland where I was placed in coffins for long periods of time and taken out and abused. At the age of 16 I was kicked out of the home, no education, and sent to live with my father, who could not cope with me. I quickly found myself spending more and more time on the streets, and I quickly discovered a great way of blanking out the bad memories, drugs and alcohol. Within 6 months of leaving the home, I ran away to Northampton, where I had a brother, but he couldn't cope with me either, and I found the only place to be was in the big city of London. Within 6 months I had the equivalent of £100 a day drug habit, and I spent the next 25 years running around the country, running away from my abuse and running into trouble after trouble. As a teenager, living on the streets of London in the 70s, I saw things that still give me nightmares. During my time on the streets, I met and saw many children as young as 11 and 12 who had run away from home or been kicked out of their home, and they would end up on the streets of London. Lots of these children would disappear very quickly, and a lot of the ones who stayed around would end up as prostitutes or rent boys. Thankfully I never did this. All these children would end up in London with just a rucksack to their name, and every single one of them had the same thing in the rucksacks: change of clothes and photographs of their families. I'll never ever forget the first time a small boy said to me, as I was sitting by a campfire in some old derelict building, "Dave, will you watch my bag for me? I'll have a punter. I'll be back in an hour." After an hour he never came back. And after 2, then 3, then 4 hours, he still didn't come back. I couldn't move because, you see, he was the only friend I had in the whole world, and I was the only friend he had. I waited all the next day and the day after, and after 3 days I suddenly realised my friend was not coming back. I can't remember how many rucksacks I ended up throwing away. Sometimes I would wake up in some derelict building, not remember how I got there, and when the light started to filter through the room, I could see lots of abandoned rucksacks all over the floor. Homelessness was tough. Many times I'd managed to get myself into a bedsitter or hostel somewhere, but I had no social skills and I couldn't trust anyone. This was my life for the best part of 25 years. Wherever I tried to lay my heart, I caused mayhem, because I was a social misfit and outcast. I spent most of my time in prison or mental hospitals, running, hoping that someone would stop and ask me the questions I was hoping to give answers to. I was just another survivor of historical child abuse, one of so many who can't really open up the wounds when they're not in a safe enough place to deal with the memories. So they just keep coming back again and again in the hope that someone will recognise their pain and needs. I'm talking about the 70s and 80s. Has anything really changed today? Today we have so many survivors of historical child abuse throughout the UK, in prisons and homeless centres, drug and alcohol units and on the streets. So many men and women going through revolving doors, sometimes just like me for years. So many, they come out of prison and they can't find security. They turn to drugs, then they turn to crime, and then they end up back in prison. After 25 years and in 1998, exactly 20 years ago, I met Alice. Alice became my first real girlfriend. We were just so good together. One day she told me she had some news for me. She told me she was pregnant. I fell to the floor and I cried my eyes out. I told her I'd never had a family. This was the first time in my life that I'd actually cried tears of joy. On the 20th of April I did the honourable thing and Alice and I got married. At this point Alice was 3 months pregnant. Exactly 5 weeks after 5 weeks, we went to bed one night, and when I woke up, Alice was lying on top of me. She was very cold. I turned the light on and I woke up. I got up and put the light on and discovered that Alice was dead. The doctor was called and confirmed my worst nightmare. He told me the baby was also dead. After some time I was told that Alice had choked on her vomit. She was 23 years of age. Once again I was taken into the mental hospital, and this is when my child abuse started to resurface, and the doctors worked very hard to get me to come to terms with what had happened. This was also the time when Jesus Christ came into my life, and I knew I had two choices to make. I could either go back to the life I'd been living and probably end up dead, or I could try and get some understanding and justice for all the things that had happened to me. On my release I called Police Scotland, and I told them about the abuse and how I wanted something done about it. The guy on the other end of the phone started laughing and told me I was wasting my time and hung up. I knew at that point I was never going to give up, and that I was going to make sure someone paid for the horrible times and the life I had lived. I started taking more and more interest in child abuse. I started thinking a lot about all those children I'd met in London, and all the homeless people, especially Scottish people, who I'd met all over the country, who tried to talk to me about their abuse, and how I never was able to stop long enough to listen. Now I was going to do more to listen. Now I was fully committed. I learned as much as I could, and wherever I heard any campaigns or demonstrations I would turn up. At this time I was settled in a church, and I started going around the country, speaking in churches and wherever I could. I volunteered to work in homeless centres, met so many people with the same stories as myself. One day my church took me aside and they told me they'd like to send me to Brazil to work with the homeless people in Sao Paulo and to give my testimony at various events. I thank God for giving me this opportunity, and Brazil opened so much things, it opened my eyes to a whole new life. I saw women with nothing in their lives except the dress that they were wearing, and men and women riddled in addiction. I saw children as young as 2 and 3 who were sold for sex, and suddenly I realised how lucky I really was. I suddenly realised that I had so much to be thankful for. When I returned to Scotland, I made a commitment that I would never play the victim again. From now on, I was going to show people that I'm a survivor. Amen. I was taken all over Brazil, and I gave my testimony in front of many people. I spoke in a radio show with an audience of 5 million people. I was giving my testimony in one church that was in the favelas, and there was no roof, very, very poor area. And all of a sudden a helicopter pulled up outside, and I thought, somebody famous must be coming here. And when I went in the helicopter, they took me up, we went to Santos, and we passed this huge big crowd, and I said to my friend Pastor Eduardo, I said, my God, there must be at least 20,000 people there. He says, Dave, there's over 100,000 people there, and you're one of the speakers. Something inside me dropped. It was 110 degrees. I couldn't speak Portuguese then, and I had to use an interpreter. And I had a white pair of trousers and a white t-shirt, and it was 110 degrees, and I was soaking wet. And I had to give my testimony, and everybody could see everybody. That was quite funny. But yeah, I gave my testimony in front of 100,000 people. I also spoke on radio. One day I was taken to a huge march. I was taken to this march, it was against child abuse. The whole crowd was over 30,000 strong, and what stuck out for me was how many Scottish flags I saw. I realised that day I was going to be very involved in child abuse in Scotland, and God was going to be right beside me all the way. When I got home I started contacting the Catholic Church and the Scottish Government and the police, and so began my campaigning. In 2010, everything changed for me and other survivors. When the Pope visited Ireland and he refused to apologise for the abuse suffered by all the children in the UK at the hands of the Catholic Church, something stirred inside me. A fire lit up in me, and suddenly new movements started popping up. I started turning up at churches all over the UK with big banners, demanding justice. I also started turning up at the Scottish Parliament as well. Almost every time I did this, no one could come out and speak to me. Almost every time I did this, but then other survivors started hearing about what was happening, what I was doing. And soon I would do a vigil, and the numbers started to increase, 20, 30, 40 people. I did more campaigning outside the Scottish Parliament for an inquiry into historical child abuse. In 2012, the police finally started to take me seriously, and they took a statement from me, and then the floodgates opened. It was just after this that all the Savile stuff started. and this did affect my case, but I kept on pushing the police, contacted the Catholic Church, and I told them I was looking for justice. When the court case finally came, over 70 men had come forward as a result of me, and at least 2 other people had come forward over the same institution. In 2014, when the Scottish referendum was in full swing, I stood outside the Scottish Parliament for 10 days with a huge big banner that said, "Forget the referendum, look after your children first." I gave out over 1,500 leaflets, and over 100 people came forward to say they'd been abused in childhood. In 2015, the Scottish Government announced it was having a full public inquiry into historical child abuse. I went home, and in my cabinet in my living room, I had 17 candles of people who I'd known through my campaigning who had died or committed suicide because of historical child abuse. Some had committed suicide, some had drugged themselves to death, but this was their day. I carried on campaigning wherever I could. Finally managed to get an audience with the head of the Roman Catholic Church. And when I met him, I went there not as a representative of any group, but as a victim. I took with me all my medical records, all my criminal records, and I sat and I told him everything that had happened to me, and I told him I wanted to get help. And I wanted to come back in 6 weeks, and I wanted to see what he was doing. After 6 weeks, I get no reply. I prayed to God. I said, "God, what do we do here? What do I do? What have we got to do to make these people listen?" I was angry, but I dealt with anger years ago. Anger got me a 25-year drug addiction and at least 5 spells in prison. So on the 26th of August 2016, I went up to the headquarters of the Catholic Church in Scotland with an 8-foot size cross, and I chained myself to the cross, and I told them I'm going to stay there for 10 days. It went media, it went worldwide, and people from Australia and everything come over. If you Google Dave Sharp, St Andrew's Cathedral, you'll see this. After 9 days, nothing had happened, nobody turned anything, they never came out. So I got a message back to the church to say I'm going to stay there for 40 days. And then on day 12, the church contacted me to say they wanted to speak. After 9 days, the church had come out, they thought I would go away. On day 12, I received a message to say that the church wanted to talk to me. And a meeting was arranged between me and the insurers of the Catholic Church in Manchester. I was awarded compensation, and straight away I went out and set about my own campaign group. Last year I formed SAFE, which is here. I got together with other survivors and counsellors. I also contacted a law firm, and I told them my vision. You can imagine if we can go on the streets of Scotland as survivors, working with counsellors, working with lawyers, we can get lots of people to come forward. I knew how to put all my feeling of the church to one side. Yeah, I told them that in order for this to work, this is important about today, and I've got all these different groups. This is what I need to say today. There's a lot of anger. There's a lot of people who are dealing with different levels of abuse. There's a lot of people that haven't come to terms. We know that. But I told them, and in order for this idea to work, we had to be non-political and non-religious. I knew I had to put all my own feelings of the church to one side in order to reach out to all the survivors who had been abandoned, and that's what I did. I contacted Police Scotland and asked them to show me what's different now from 20 years ago when you laughed at me. What are you doing different now? What resources have you got? And I pestered them for over a year to convince them for me to put them in my brochure. And they told me that the only way they could get more sex offenders off the streets and into courts was for more survivors to come forward. And that's my message today. If we can come together, we can start something really big here. I think there's enough done about people, and I understand it. You know, people, I work with there's 60 people that remain. You can get 60 people to come forward, and it's a good case with the police. One bad one, and it criticises. I've got a different view. I think we need to just focus on the survivors and let the police come to us. And that's what we did. On the first day of the hearing of the public inquiry in Edinburgh, we did a vigil outside to remember all the children whose lives been taken because of child abuse. The next day we took our campaign to George's Square in Glasgow, where we stayed for 2 days. Over 70 people came forward. Since then, in the last 8 months, we've gone on the streets of Glasgow, Edinburgh, Greenock, Dundee, Kilmarnock. We got invited to Gay Pride weekend, and we also did Walk for Suicide. Up until now, the full number of people who have come forward has been put at over 600. I recently contacted the law firm we're working with as well, who told me that over 200 people have come to the law firm. Right now we're planning our next gig in Aberdeen. Over the next 6 months we're going to be covering the whole 4 corners of Scotland. What we're doing is something that's never been done before, and that is a bunch of survivors going on the street looking for survivors, and what we do works. It works. There's no anger, there's no demonstrations. We listen to the word on the street, we see how angry and frustrated people are, that not enough is being done. We talk about our own experiences, we can signpost people to the right places, and it works. If someone tells us they have no confidence in the police, we tell them without the police there's no justice. Can you imagine if we did the same thing throughout the UK? Let's talk about it. Amen. God bless. Thank you.
Just before the next speaker comes on, what we're going to do, because it's a bit heavy that, just like sort of break it up a bit. So we've got some t-shirts here. T-shirts are free. I've got no cups to sell or anything like that. You get what I'm saying? So we're just going to give some of these t-shirts out. On the front it says #survivors first. We're going to start using that hashtag, yeah, because that's going to be the name of our movement and the group we're putting together, yeah. And just to reiterate, everything what we do has to be done for free, yeah. We can't get tied up with no bullshit. Do you know what I mean? It's got to be for free, and it's got to be because people spitting when I'm talking. It's got to be because people want to do it. Do you know what I mean? And want to be involved, yeah. We cannot be arsed, yeah, with all the bullshit, with all the infighting in groups, yeah. People bandwagoning, yeah, this cause for their own agenda, yeah, and just causing mass disruption, yeah, spreading disinformation, which is a load of shite, you know what I mean? And people don't flipping research the stuff, yeah, taking people's word for gospel, yeah. Do your own research people, find out about people. Find out about other groups, find out why they're getting involved with survivors, you know what I mean? And I'll shut up there because I'll end up going off on one. But we're just going to give out some t-shirts as well, yeah? And the t-shirts are free, but all we ask is a pay it forward thing with the t-shirts, yeah? So if you take a t-shirt, just give somebody a call who you've not spoke to for a while, somebody who may be struggling, yeah? Just spend 15 minutes with them, give them a ring, check in on them, you know what I mean? Because the thing is, I'm not to be dramatic, yeah, but it could save someone's life, yeah. Someone could be teetering on the edge, yeah. And that's not being dramatic because we know the place where some of us came from, you know what I mean? And if there'd have been a listening ear at the side, maybe things wouldn't be different, and maybe those lads and girls who aren't with us today, maybe they'd have been with us. I'm not being dramatic saying that because that's what happens, you know what I mean, as we know. So does anyone want a t-shirt?
We want one. Anyone else?
And you don't only take one,
Hang on, Dan, you set me up here because I'm going to start saying you all hard ones.
Oh no, just fold the t-shirts out, mate.
I'll tell you what, guys, you got a t-shirt. Everybody's welcome.
So, yeah. Can we do that? Oh, Brian. So, you order. Blue medium. Red medium. Let's get top. Oh, there we go. So, mate. Yeah, now, so hopefully you guys can hear a little bit better. It'd be good to wear because we go to so many events. Yeah, so mate, yeah, we get as close as possible. It's good. Medium. Borderline medium. Hi, Margaret. There's one XL, double XL.
2XL.
If not, I've got one for.
Right, I'd just like to introduce another colleague of ours from the Uprising, and this is Sean, so Sean's going to say a few.
Right, my name's Sean Gower, and I'm not a survivor of CSC or CSA, and I was quite ignorant to it all as well. Going back 2 years, I really was. I never knew anything about it, never understood the signs, never understood what people go through, how broken people get when they're suffering with it, especially if they reach adulthood. There was a paedophile hunting team that did a sting in my hometown, and the person they stung was my eldest son's head teacher. He was also my eldest son's football coach. He was arranging to meet a boy, and he wanted the boy to bring his football kit because he liked boys in uniforms, he liked boys in football kits. Now that scared the life out of me. Really, honestly scared the life out of me. I had to sit down and have some difficult questions with my son. I had to ask him, did anything ever happen? And this man you would have never picked out in a million years. He would have been the last person you ever would have picked out. And it sparked something inside me. So I started to pay attention. I started to look, I started to listen, I started to speak to other people. And it is really scary. I lost both my parents when I was in my early 30s, in quick succession. And I went through a really bad time, tried to commit suicide, felt really, really worthless while I was going through all this. I genuinely thought my wife would be better off without me. I genuinely thought my kids would be better off without me. She would go on and be a better person. That man would be a better father to my children, because I had completely no self-worth left. And in the 18 months following that, I've built myself a support network. But it's really easy for me because people will talk to me about losing my mother. People will talk to me about losing my father. People will relate to it. We'll all go through it at some point. Survivors of CSC and CSA, I know it's daunting to talk to them. I know you might be scared to talk to them because of taboo or because of something else, or feeling a little bit uncomfortable about talking about it. But 2 minutes is all it takes to talk to someone. 2 minutes. I speak to Mike. Where's Mike? I speak to Mike on a regular basis. I started speaking to Mike 9 months ago. He rang me up, said, I want to start a paedophile hunting team. I said, all right, let's do it. I speak to Mike every day on the phone.
Every day. And can I just say to everyone that sees this, this man is one of the people responsible for me still being here. Just by his strength, and he's not a survivor, he just gives a shit.
In reality, I do nothing apart from call Mike, ask if he's alright, and have a chat. It takes 2 minutes, and that is all it takes, is 2 minutes of your time. And like Dan just touched on, you don't know the difference it will make to someone. You don't know the difference answering a text message will make to someone. Talking to someone, if they message you at 2 o'clock in the morning, there's probably a good reason for it. And if you can give them 2 minutes of your time, even if it's 5 minutes or 10 minutes, it seems strange to me when Mike says, I don't really talk to anyone else about this. And I think, why has no one else got 2 minutes? We ain't that busy. Give someone 2 minutes of your time, honestly, and it really could make all the difference in the world. Thank you all.
I'd just like to welcome Andy up next. Andy?
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm going to shout and pretend I'm back at Petticoat Lane Market again, selling dodgy shirts. Helping my mate Richard. They're all, some are good, some are nicked and some are not. On a serious note, Someone said to me, religious man, you're doing it for all the others too, you're their voice. I am their fucking voice, and I'm really gonna fucking give it to you now, and this is gonna go out. This is a little poem. This is about winning. Now, every single one of us here today is a winner. Never forget it. Never forget it. In your darkest, saddest moment, don't give in to the sadness. You are a winner. You are here. You're here when others sadly couldn't make it. You've got to go forward and get to that point. This is called to win. I wish I could win and be the soldier's favourite man and live all rich like the Queen, not drunk within your forest eyes. Will you judge or hear my cries? Will you speak, not tremble about my life, nor wake like I wake, waiting for the voice that said, we believe you, you won. Thank you. Now the next one, this is called Who Am I? First written 9th of January 2016. Sorry I have to shout, I don't normally shout poems, only in the shower. Who am I? What oh, hey! There's Jackson. Hey. I'm forever flying bubbles, Jackson. Who am I? What do I deserve? My mother asked these Sabbath candles this Friday night why lives are being swapped in Syria. Yesterday is a leftover parcel of the politics in life. Is everything so true, so incomplete, while strangers sing of justice and mourners go home to sweep their shoelaces round their empty rooms, and rain falls like coughs at our feet? Where are the brides of Christ when so many never got heard? Their retreat towards a land of Tesco's where only food gives way to the absurd. Forgotten dogs laying still within the corridors of immunity, and we know they fucking are. We got them covered. Contrast our broken souls, mourning like ploughmen's abandoning a field. Brothers and sisters, pilgrims, do not abandon our fight. We know the conspiracy of authority cares nothing for our wounded plight. Hope that's waking you up. Now, I think I've got to do something Jewish here. I know it's a bit cock, but when we've reached the pinnacle of success, we sing this song, which is as follows. It's a very brief one. If you want to help me by clapping, I'll really appreciate it. There won't be a hat round afterwards, don't worry. Mazel tov and simul tov and simul tov and mazel tov and simul tov and mazel tov and oi 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 da 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 ai da 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 mazel tov and simul tov and simul tov and mazel tov and simul tov ai 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 da 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 ai da 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 da. Thank you. I've got one final poem, and I'm going to dedicate this to the authoress. It's not about me, it's about you lot today. I'm so proud of all of you. This is a historic moment for me, because when I'm sitting on the toilet seat in the middle of January, I will remember you lot. I will not forget you. And here we go. This is from Vicky. This is the real me. It's a little bit sad. Sorry, Vicky. I saw a man I knew today. His face didn't look the same. His eyes were deep and far away. I was not pissed. Wondered who was to blame. He was so usually full of life. It was a shock to see his face. His shoulders hunched. His smile had gone, just leaving an empty space. I asked him why he looked that way, and when he told me why, I understood the reason why that face evoked so different today. I wanted to say I was sorry and take it all away. I knew there was no way I could. I didn't know what to say. I could tell that he was hurting. It was something he was trying to hide, and don't I fucking try and hide it every day. On the surface, he was cheerful. That didn't cover what was inside. I wish there was some kind of magic to expel all grief and pain. If there was, I'd give it all to him and make him smile again. Thank you.
Thanks, Andy. Can I just thank Andy for that? Billy! So this is Billy from Parents Against Grooming.
Hey guys. Guys, thank you. Wow. I'm so proud to see this many people come forward today. Survivors here, you're an absolute inspiration to us all. We do this because we have to. We do this because no one else is doing this for us. Now, I don't know how much you know about Rochdale. This is where I'm from, this is where we began. This is who I fight for day in, day out, day in, day out. I've met with some amazing people like Dan, Mike, you know, Alan, you know, we've been meeting up all across the country. Anthony Wood from Telford, we've been meeting up right across the country to build a team going forward, a team for survivors, and we've called that Survivors First, guys. We're going to bring in all the groups we believe that are here to help, and we're going to push on. The final goal is eradication of child sexual exploitation. We need to turn the tables. We've seen 4 generations of children ruined. Let's be a generation that says no more. We've had it, no more. Let's join together and let's put it in the bin. As a team, as one. That's why I'm here today, and I know that's why a lot of you are here today. So from the bottom of my heart, guys, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Billy. Dawn! Can we have Dawn next? Dawn's written something that she'd like to share with you.
Hi, I'm Lorraine. I'm from My Voice Survivor Support Group. I've been running the group for about 18 months now. We've got Dawn, who is one of our lovely members who, well, I'm going to let her tell your story. I'm so emotional.
I'm a survivor, and the reason I'm here today is for people who are struggling to reach out and talk. My sexual abuse started when I was 3 years old, and it went on for months. Then I was raped at 12 years old with my first suicide attempt. I was self-harming. I was high suicide risk, I was in constant overdoses. I was involved in very violent domestic violence relationships. And for my recovery, I ended charity community awareness programme who helps homeless and vulnerable people and people who've been affected by mental health issues, homelessness, domestic violence or sexual abuse. I now volunteer there, and I've now written and I've published a poetry book, and all that money from that poetry book is all going back into the community to highlight these issues and to reach out to others.
We've just had some feedback that people can't hear, so I'm just going to move this a bit forward, if that's okay. So Pauline would like to speak next.
Hello, my name's Pauline. I'm actually firstly going to speak for Chris Tuck, who can't be here today. She is the head of survivorsofabuse.org.uk. And she's really sorry she can't be here, but this is what she has to say. She said, first of all, this speech is written from the heart. I'm sorry I couldn't be with you all today at this monumental event where survivors and supporters have come together to have their voices heard. I want to thank the organisers from the bottom of my heart, especially Danny. I want to say hello to all of you, brave, courageous people who have come here today to speak their truth and to show their support to the cause, which is definitely gaining momentum. The movement is on the move. I am a survivor of all forms of childhood abuse and neglect, and I use my lived experiences to make change happen. My family currently have a live police investigation into what has happened to them, so cannot discuss any details. Chris says, to make change happen in our lifetime, we need to see and deal with child abuse differently. We need a cultural shift. We need changes to legislation. We need people in power to get behind what we are saying and help us make it happen. We need changes in process and policies. We need a hashtag zero tolerance approach to child abuse. If we aim for the stars, we reach the moon, and that is a big sea change. Raising awareness is great. Talking about the impact is traumatising, but needed. Taking action and holding people to account that have failed us is imperative. Investing into specialist support services that are trauma informed and client led and accessible to all is a must. We need to stop this rot moving into the next generation. There have been many individuals before us. There are us here now. There will be many after us, all standing up, all breaking the silence and breaking the cycle of what has happened and is happening, so that children of today and tomorrow are protected. Here is to the Uprising. All my love, Chris. Thank you. Okay, I speak for myself now. So, I am 55 and for all my childhood I was ritually abused. The impact of child sexual abuse on me and all survivors is lifelong. Over the years, I've abused my own body because I was violated, raped and indoctrinated for so long. Told I was evil and worth nothing, so I believed it. I would inflict pain on myself, self-harm and overeat, just so I could mask the pain inflicted on me. As well as chronic PTSD, I have short-term memory loss caused by the trauma, anxiety, dissociation, flashbacks and nightmares. As survivors of abuse, we have suffered so much as children, and as adults, our needs deserve to be met with specialist long-term trauma-based help. And then I wrote this. I'm holding my head up high, and I'm taking my power back. They stripped me of my dignity, they denied me of my first kiss, they stole my trust in others, they took away my voice. But I am holding my head up high and I am taking my power back. I said no, but they demanded yes. They made me a statistic, they turned me into a victim, they violated me, raped me, called me a nothing, but I am holding my head up high and I'm taking my power back. I used to cower and hide. I would jump at my own shadow. I let them in my grasp for years. I am a woman, proud and strong. I refuse to remain a victim. I will not be silent anymore. I hold my head up high and I am taking my power back. All of you can hold your head up high and take the power back. Recovery is an ongoing process for each of us and follows different paths, but ultimately we merge together, united, strong in our healing and in our determination to bring about change. I stand proud with all of you amazing, awesome people. Thank you. Now then, let me hear you say it after me. We are holding our heads up high.
We're
And we're taking the power back. Thank you.
No, it's nice to see. I think there's some tears of joy, sort of going on here. Do you know what I mean? And that's what it's all about, you know. And thanks to Andy for doing his little song, because the thing is, we did not get into recovery to be miserable. Do you know what I mean? Like Pauline was saying, we did not take back power and control to be in the fetal position under the table. It's about standing up. Today has been absolutely fantastic. It has. Oh, good catch. Today has been absolutely fantastic. So the next speaker up is Michaela, who's going to share some stuff with you. Michaela.
Oh, sorry.
Next up we have Michaela.
Sorry as well, we just had a bit of feedback from people who are listening that they can't hear through people like sort of chattering in the background. I know it's a park and that, and we can't do nothing about it, but if you could just be respectful when people are speaking, that'd be appreciated. And Anthony's going to be up next as well from Naga after Michaela spoke.
Hi everybody. I was ritually abused from the age of at least 3 years and 10 months. It's only been recently I had the revelation that I can name the exact date of my first memorable rape. This was on the 14th of April 1982. The day I feared being alone with my father whilst my mother was admitted to hospital to give birth to her next victim, my brother. The fear of God was already instilled in me, so I truly believe my abuse started before this already early age. My perpetrators were my mother, father, the extended family and their so-called friends. I cannot count the number of men and women that have abused me over the years. There was very few safe people in my childhood. Most people I knew was abusers, especially before I started school. Funny enough, as the years went on, school became my respite. I was surprisingly deemed quite a bright child, a child who was desperate to be loved and who craved attention. This meant I learned at around the age of 7, if you had trouble with reading and writing, you would get extra help. I pretended I couldn't read and intentionally got spellings wrong so that I got this additional help. I think this nurturing from the teachers was what made me realise that not everybody was evil. Still, the teachers didn't ask any questions about the bruises on my body. I intentionally rolled my sleeves up to show them the bruises. Still, back then I was too young to be angry at their ignorance. Still, this anger flickered like a candle for many years until now as an adult, it's like a raging fire at times. By the time I was 12, I was being raped more nights than not. I simply accepted it as part of my norm. My mother, who I now refer to as my incubator, was heavily involved in my abuse. I refer to her as one of my rapists, despite her being a woman. As a woman myself, I will never understand how she could treat a child like she did. Her definition of helping me was to pin me down so men could rape me, and this included her husband, my father, who I now call my sperm donor. The two people who should have kept me safe were the two people I feared the most. I witnessed many other children being abused in the group that I was dragged up in. Some younger, some older. All of us had that dazed, robotic look on our faces, all wishing it wouldn't be us who was chosen that night, wishing we wouldn't endure whatever they wanted to inflict upon us, wishing that tonight we wouldn't be tortured so much we was in pure agony, then wishing we wouldn't be given the choice to be abused again or select another child to be subjected to horrendous abuse and then made to watch at times. I'd be blamed for their suffering because of my so-called choice. There was only so much pain I could tolerate before I caved in and chose another to suffer. It wasn't my fault, but the guilt still eats me up this very day. At 15, I became pregnant. I was terrified of being a mum, as even then I wondered how I was going to look after my baby. Still, I was very naive as to the chosen fate of my baby. I'm not going to go into the details here, but what I will say is I lost my baby. On the 31st of October 1993, I lost my right to be a mother or have a family of my own. Still, that day was also a turning point for me. I proved to my abusers that I was strong-willed, determined, stubborn and knew right from wrong. I proved I had more morals than they would ever have. I proved that although I was broken by my loss, they were slowly but surely losing control over me. I proved that in the long run I wasn't going to be like them at all. I wouldn't be party to their sick activities, and no matter what I would get away, and get away I eventually did. The stubbornness has followed me throughout my life. It meant I got away from the group. I left home at 18 thinking that I was safe. I wasn't. My abuse continued, just less frequently. The groups tried their best to keep me under their control. They pulled out all their party tricks and sent me all their flying monkeys. I was quite literally knocked down time and time again, but I fought with all my might to get back up. Being part of my family again was never going to be an option. Yes, I had to move 13 times and change my name twice before I was free, but they finally gave in. It took me until I was 29 to escape their evil clutches, but I succeeded. Not exactly what I had in mind as a career goal, but winning my war without an army to fight me isn't bad. I thank my pure determination, stubbornness, my knowing right from wrong and not giving up for saving me. I am very resilient and have basically raised myself. I have been let down by many services, but at this moment in time, that doesn't matter. Today is not the day for that. Those that know me well know life is no picnic and the garden isn't rosy. What matters at the end of the day is I didn't let myself down or the daughter that I lost. I owe it to us both to keep fighting. I owe it to every disassociative survivor of ritual abuse to keep fighting. To say that these evil groups exist, but with determination you can get away. I hope I set an example highlighting it as possible. I am standing here today, possibly having past abusers watch me. Some live very close to London, and it's only been recently I have felt strong enough to visit London. Standing here in itself is a testament to how far I have come when the people I fear most who have made death threats are just a 40-minute journey away. Still, if they are watching, I would like to say a big hello. You once told me you was going to make my death look like the world's biggest accident, but you have failed. I have reincarnated myself as your biggest nightmare, as I am not silent anymore and I am not willing to hide away in fear that I'll be found once again. That candle that once simmered inside of me is now a raging fire that will not be put out easily. Try with all your might, but I'm a beacon shining brightly for myself, for my daughter, for every ritual abuse survivor out there that is still in the dark. I prove that there truly is light at the end of the tunnel. My presence here today proves that. I don't know what my future holds because of my past. Still, it was just 3 days ago I signed up to my law degree with the Open University. Many years ago I was asked by a member of Devon Partnership Trust in a meeting where had I done my legal training. At the School of Hard Knock Life, I proved that an ounce of experience is worth more than a pound of knowledge. I have been very successful on many occasions advocating for myself, but also for others. Right now, I'm not in a position to work directly with survivors. This is why, over the years, I have raised over £10,000 for various charities to help ensure they and others out there that can help survivors. Still, even when I look back over my life in, say, a year, I have achieved so much. So never say never. I already have a lot of knowledge about escaping domestic violence, about housing options and rights, about injunctions and about keeping safe. A law degree can only widen my knowledge, and one day this may lead me to a position to help others in a more professional role. Still, for now, I am happy to be safe and alive against the odds, as after all I have suffered on just a physical level, it's a miracle I'm alive. That miracle exists for a reason. One day that reason will become clear. I would like to thank Danny and Lorraine and the others who have worked tirelessly to put on this event. I have always been scared of attending such events, especially when there are cameras around. I have always been petrified of being identified and traced again. Today, giving me this platform in a place that I call a trigger area and an unsafe area for me allows me to prove myself. I no longer need to fear my abusers that tortured me up until 10 years ago. I do feel that they finally have more to fear than me. They know what I know. They know what I know could potentially drop them in shit street, really. If they see me here, standing strong, they know I am no longer willing to remain a friend by association. As we all know, silence is an abuser's best friend. They should be the ones who are scared, because who knows what I will say next and to whom. They are used to me putting up, being scared. Hang on, I've got lost, sorry. They are used to me putting up. They're used to me putting up this fight. What they are not used to is watching me win that fight. Today, standing here, I end my speech by saying speaking publicly without fear proves my fight is far from over. Only I decide when it is. Thank you.
Well done.
Just got somebody whilst they've been listening, they put together a few words that they'd like to share with you. And I said, "Are you alright speaking?" He said, "Yeah, I used to do school assemblies." So he's fine.
Hi, I'm Craig. I'm part of Team Darklight. I've been sat here listening to everybody, and I just thought I just needed a few words to say. As we know, sexual predation is rife in today's society, but today serves as testament that if just one person is brave enough to come forward and share their experiences, then we can get 2 people to come forward, then 3, and help spread the word that you don't have to sit and hide in silence. There is support out there, and together we can all help smash any stigmas surrounding the subject of child abuse. By coming here as individuals, you are no longer a sole survivor, you are a family. And as a family, we will grow, and we will no longer allow abuse to continue. Thank you.
Just like to, so another of our members is Anthony from National Anti-Grooming Alliance Helpline. So Anthony's just going to say a few words.
Right guys, first off I just want to say it's been an honour, and humbling to be around so many brave people today and listening to such amazing voices as well. Yeah, okay, yeah, all right, so cheers mate. Right, anyway, we've spawned a group, national group called NAGA. Yeah, NAGA, right, we've got a group called NAGA. It basically stands for the National Anti-Grooming Alliance and Helpline. I'm like a co-founder of this with a friend of mine, John. We've got Dan on as well as one of the directors, Billy, and a lad called Lee. We set up, I've run in a group called Telford NAGA. It's a pilot scheme, it's a pilot group, and it's took off massively. We've had about 20 odd cases in the past 3 weeks. We're working along the CSE team with the police task force, and we're basically, we're bypassing the uniformed police who, let's face it, we all know aren't that great, are they? So we also work alongside the survivors running a support group, so we can take it on there. We're looking at different ways of safeguarding the community and making sure that we can keep all children safe. And in this NAGA, the actual NAGA, the nationwide umbrella group, we've got groups underneath us, underneath the NAGA, the actual NAGA umbrella. We've got the likes of your Dark Light, your PAG UKs, your Shatterboy, your Shattergirl, and it forms. They're all for different areas. We look at the online grooming, we look at the paedophile, the grooming gangs. We've got the men's support, female support. It's all under this NAGA group. So what we ought to do, we've got leaflets as well today. If anyone would like to take a leaflet as well. What we're trying to do is get as many people in different areas of the country to come under this wing as well. And we've got it's a bit of a movement here, and we can make a difference. We're already making massive inroads. We just started a group in Sunderland as well, Sunderland NAGA, and we've had interest from all over the country. And I'm not a survivor. I've met many survivors and families of victims who have sadly passed away, and it's just trying to do my bit to try and help them. I want to say, because from Telford especially, in Telford I want to mention 3 names, and that's Lucy Lowe, Becky Watson and Vicky Rounds, and these 3 girls have sadly passed away as a result of grooming in Telford. And I want to say, send out our thoughts to all the families. We're always going to be here for them. In fact, Becky's mother is actually here today. So it's going to be a long road to try and tackle this, but that's why I want, if we're all together, we stand together, we can flush that out. And as for we want to make the police actually take things seriously for a change. We want them actually to do what they're meant to do, which is serve and protect, not swerve and neglect. So that's what we are aiming to do. And like I just said, with all these groups under this umbrella group, we've got, like we said, your PAG UK, your Shatterboy, your Shattergirl. We've got all these groups under this umbrella group. But individually, you get a slap. Together, you get a fist. And together, if we all stand together as one and say enough is enough, we can finally stop this and protect these children. So, thank you anyway. Cheers.
Just before we carry on, what we're going to do is we're just going to sort of break things up, yeah. And if people don't mind, and if people are up for it, what we're going to do is we're going to take a picture of everybody lined up, linking arms, as just a sign of sort of being united. If you don't want to be in the picture, that's cool, but we're just going to do that just to break it up for a few minutes. Did everyone hear me? Yeah. So we just line up on the those who want to partake. We'll line up on the curb.
I'm Angela from NAGA. Hello, sweetheart. You alright? Yeah. Right. He didn't actually get it out very well. We've got boxes of NAGA leaflets and everything. So if people want them in their hometown, just take.
What a good turnout.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Daniel?
Yeah?
My garden.
Angela! Angela!
Hi guys, if anybody would like to take any leaflets and cards and put them round their hometowns, there's some boxes down here on the range thing. Please help yourselves and get them out as far and wide as we can. Thank you.
So what those cards are and leaflets are from NAGA. So on there is the phone number for the National Anti-Grooming Alliance helpline to report CSE. So what? I've not got anything. If you want to report some CSE that's going on in your area. So next up we've got Phil. Come on, Phil.
We're selling lighters for £5.
Right. Hello and good afternoon. My name's Phil and I'm from Voicing CSA. Now, where I start from is after the First World War, my great-grandmother died and my grandmother became the surrogate wife to her father. She bore 3 boys, one died, one was given away, and one was found in Glasgow as a 3-year-old with severe malnutrition and rickets. That was my father. My uncle, who we knew nothing of for all of our lives until recently, had transferred to Newcastle, then taken into care after turning feral and living on the streets. He was given a golden opportunity to go to a land of opportunity, of oranges and sunshine. You know where I'm going with this. A report was written by an Inspector Elwood at the time, and it's in the records. He was signed over to a Miss Coulson, who had an advertisement running in the shop window for Fairbridge Farm School in Australia. My uncle recalled it was the picture of a horse-drawn cart full of hay and half a dozen children sitting on it. What a fantastic opportunity, he thought, and he was happy to go to Australia. He set sail on the SS Ormond, and with the IICSA now, we know about Fairbridge, and it was the Child Migrant Trust that reconnected us sadly after the death of my father. He never knew he had a brother. He departed on December the 17th, 1948 and travelled for 28 days and arrived in Australia on June the 15th, 1949. The wonderful clothes that they'd been issued were taken away and returned to England for the next load of photo opportunities of lucky kids going to Australia. Now, there are statues all over London representing different people, different causes, different wars, different historic successes and everything. But CSA remains invisible to the main population of this country and overseas. And more sexually abused children are alive today than died in 2 world wars. You think about how many people died in the world wars and how many children that would equate to that have been abused and suffered. And there is nothing anywhere that recognises this. No memorial, no recognition, no statue. Sorry about this, it's cold. There is an obvious situation, and there is just a way for the nation to raise awareness for now and future generations. Because child sexual abuse isn't just about the past, it's not just about today, it's about children tomorrow. And awareness should be out there at all times. Everyone should be aware of it. And those parents who fight and hide it from their children, saying, oh, nothing there, darling, don't look, and all that, well, you should be ashamed of yourselves, because really and truly you should be making your children aware through education, through understanding, through compassion, and don't ignore what is going on today. One of the messages from things like Poppy Day and so forth is, lest we forget. This is the message for the war dead. Lest we forget seems to be the message to the sexually abused children of our nation, and that has to change. The 4th plinth in Trafalgar Square is a solution for the awareness and the change that is coming. That change that we have started today with the uprising at #SurvivorsFirst. Now, I understand that the 4th plinth is reserved for the Queen, who was part of the establishment. We do not need another statue for the establishment in Trafalgar Square. We need a statue for the survivors of child sexual abuse, so that everyone that goes into Trafalgar Square sees what we went through, sees and understands what child abuse is. No more hiding. Put it out there. That's it.
Thank you.
So I don't want to miss anybody out, but is there anybody else who'd like to get up and speak, or would like to say a few words? Anybody? I don't want to kind of like sort of miss anyone. Oh, sorry. This is Glynis Alexander Doyle, who'd like to speak next. Come on.
Hi everyone. I'm a survivor from the 60s to 72. I was abused by my mother's stepfather. I was abused for 7 years by my mother's second husband. And I went to the police with it. And the police turned around and said to me, they don't want to name in the paper. They don't want to be scandal. They don't want other people to know about it. And no, I didn't. And it was Dunblane. Now we all know what happened at Dunblane after that week. Yeah. The children were killed in Dunblane Primary School. Chief Constable in Stirling was shutting down all child abuse. He was a paedophile himself, he was protected paedophile. And I was caught in that. And he admitted everything, but all they did to him was go and see a psychiatrist once, and he refused to go back. Nothing was forced on him. And then I left home after that. I got a job as a children's nanny, and I'm also a classically trained singer. And I left Scotland 21 years ago. I went to college, got my GCSEs, got myself into university, and I've got a level 4 counselling and counselling skills. And I'm about to do an NLP course to help children and anyone else that's been abused. So I suppose you could say I'm a wounded healer, but I want to try to open up in schools and get teachers or us go into schools and talk about it. Because the thing is, it follows you. I had two relationships that were both violent. There were both domestic violence in it. Because I had learned that that's what I learned. And as I've learned in counselling,
how a child learns and what a child takes in is normalised. Then you have to change the normalisation and fight it. And I'm in a really good place now with what I've studied and other people around me. I worked for NAPAC on the phone line for 2 years, helping other survivors on the phone. My counselling skills helped me to contain everything and help these people myself. And this is what I am doing now, helping others who have been through, but mostly get to the children that are at school, because make them be able to talk about what's going on for them. That's really what I want to do. And not to be scared to talk, to open up about what's going on for them. And there is help. The thing about counselling, everything's confidential. So if a child is scared or afraid, they've got that security that it's confidential, that no one is going to get discussed with them. And that gives them some sort of security to open up and talk. And that's my story. Thank you.
So this is Lorraine. Lorraine's from My Voice No More Silence. So Lorraine's got a group on Facebook, which is an online support group, and a lot of that's done through like sort of the medium of lives. Me personally, it's one of the best support groups that I've seen on Facebook, and that's where we like sort of send people over to Lorraine here, sort these out, you know what I mean, because there's some quality support in there, it really is. So
I'm not very much of a public speaker, but I do give a lot of support. I am a support worker, and when I finish work, I take my support for my recovery as well to all the survivors in the group. And we've just gone from 18 months of like having like 20 to 30 survivors, and now we're like 18 months in and we've got 840 survivors, and it's still growing. It is still growing, and as you fully well know, there's a lot of trolls and stuff out there, but we keep the group as safe as we possibly can. I'm supporting about 100 survivors on my own in my private inbox, but people do disclose anonymously within the group. I've got some lovely success stories all around me, but I mean, as you know, I can't really disclose anything, but if they want to disclose, then that's entirely up to them. But as I said, I'm not very much of a public speaker. I do get very emotional because of my recovery as well, and I want to cry now. But yeah, but it's My Voice No More Silence, so if there's any survivors here that would like to join the group, you're more than welcome. The addresses are on the banner, and yeah, you're more than welcome to join.
Thanks. Thank you. Just like to invite our last speaker up before we close. So Marilyn's just going to come up and say a few words.
I don't know where to start. When I was 13, and I lived up in North Island, very north of Scotland, small village. I used to babysit quite a lot for people. And this one couple I used to babysit, they had 2 girls and a little boy. And when I babysat, they used to put the little boy in with the girls. And I used to have the little boy's bedroom. But this one night, the couple went out, and kids were asleep, so I went to bed, and I wakened up with a man in the bedroom, trying to get on top of me. And I was praying. I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know about sex. And he got on top of me, and he happened me, and I was crying, asking him to stop, and he told me to shut up. He says, it's going to happen to you one day. He says, it's better me, a married man, with more experience doing it. I was just trying to, he was too heavy to fight all, but I was trying to wriggle, get him off me, and I was crying, but, and I don't know whether he was like just one of the kids woke up, but he got off me anyway, and got to bedroom door, and he turned around and he says to me, if you say anything about this, he says, I'll give you a hiding. And he used to give his wife a hiding quite a lot. That she used to go in a mental every so often she would get sectioned. So that framed me. So I didn't tell anybody for about 3 months. And I said to this girl I knew that was training to be a nurse, I says, Jessie, if your period stopped for 3 months, what does that mean? She says, it means that you're pregnant. And I burst out crying. And she says, what's wrong? So she was the very first person I told. So she says, go and tell your mum. So I went to tell my mum. My mum was in the abuser's mother's house. And I was crying and my mum says, what's that? I says, can you come home? I need to talk to you. She says, oh, I'm having a cup of tea, tell me now. I says, I can't, please come home. So she got up and we got to like the bottom of the steps to our house. And my mum says, lass, we can't go any further, just tell me what happened. I says, Mum, I says, Jimmy had him, you know, one night I was babysitting, got in bed, wouldn't leave me alone. And I says, and he hit me, and I bled. So, no, sorry, I didn't leave, sorry. And I'm getting a bit confused, I'm panicking a bit with the speech. And she took me to the doctor. I told the doctor, my mum says, tell the doctor what happened. So I told him, and he said to me, Mum, he says, she's gone through enough here. That's what I'm Friday. He says, take her back on the Monday and we'll examine her and take it from there. So my mum was barmaid in a local hotel, and when she took me home, she said to my brother, oh, I can't go to work, can you go in and tell, you know, the boss I can't come in? And he says, Mum, we need the money, you go to work, I'll sit with Madeline. My legs are going. She was at the bar looking at the window and this bloke went past and he shouted at me, Mum, being cheeky. So my mum lost her temper and she went up and she says, Mum, told me what you did to her. He says, what? She says, you raped her. He says, I didn't. And next thing you knew, the police came along. And they says, we've got to take you to be examined. So anyway, went to be examined and the doctor said, she's still got her virginity intact, but you can tell there's been somebody there that moved the pubic bone. And so that was it. Nothing was done about it. Why? I don't know. I'll never get an answer. My mum's dead, the bloke that did it and he's dead, the policeman that interviewed me was dead, and I put it to the back of my mind in a box, just closed it. But people kept shouting at me in the street, they shouted at abuse at my mum, your daughter's an effing liar, blah blah blah. So my mum and dad were separated. My dad lived in London. So, and he had my brother and sister already living there. So my mum got in touch with him and said, you know, got a bit of problem with mum and can she come down there and stay? So he did say yes. He paid my fare to go down there. He met me at Heathrow Airport. Now I hadn't seen him since I was 2 years old. By this time I was 14. His very first words were me, not hello darling, it's nice to see you, nice to see you all. Looked at me and he went, I'm having a DNA test with you. You're that ugly. I don't think you're my child. So I should have known there. So I stayed with my dad for over a year because he wouldn't pay my fare to go back home. He hammered me. Any chance he got, he knocked me off one wall to another. And I stopped speaking to him. I came down here when I was 23. I left my dad when I was 16. Came down here when I was 23. Made the family swear he wouldn't let my dad know I was here. I got married down here. My mum came down for the wedding. My brother, Stephen, let my dad know when I had a son. My son was 6 months old. And he phoned me up. I'd like to see you. And I said, no, I'm not coming near you. For all you did to me, so I'm really, really sorry. But I'd like to see my grandson. And my husband was at sea and he phoned me and he said, I'll be. So I told him. He said, well, I'll be home at the weekend. And I'm hiring a car. If it goes wrong, we'll just get in the car. Come on. So I went to see him. He was really, really nice, apologetic. And every time I went to see my dad, he would say, I was really bad here. I said, Dad, I can forgive you. But I'll never ever forget you. Just don't let's mention it. Right, and go on. But lately, since the bloke died, it's all been coming back. We never nightmare, we never panic attacks. And that because I never got justice. And I don't see now. Like, I'd like to know why the police didn't investigate more because the doctor did tell him that he had done something. Sexual killing. But I never get justice. That's my story. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, right. So we're just going to like close up now. There is someone who on the way who wants to speak who's flying over in a taxi. So after I finish like speaking and closed it, I've not got 15 minutes in me, mate. So it's going to be 10-15 minutes. So if those who want to kind of like if anyone wants to hang about, it'd be nice for you to like listen to and stuff. Yeah, so I'd just like to thank everybody for coming. I'd like to thank everybody for making the effort. Yeah, and what it's done today is sent out a real powerful message. A real powerful message that we're coming together, we're standing together, and we're united. Yeah. I am absolutely sick to the back teeth of idiots and bullshitters and trolls online trying to destroy this movement. Yeah, spreading disinformation, dragging survivors down the rabbit hole with the bullshit, bullying and intimidating people. Yeah, we've had a lot of bullshit to contend with running up to this event, and this is what people do. People get jealous, people get all weird. Yeah, and what my message is, yeah, get off your ass, yeah, and do something yourself. Stop spending all that time online, yeah, in your bedroom or your mum's bedroom, wherever you are, yeah, and get out, get on the street, get your finger from up your ass or your thumb from up your ass and do something positive yourself, you know what I mean? So those people who were riding on the back of survivors, selling mugs, hoodies, t-shirts, yeah, and all that, shove them where the sun don't shine. Yeah, we do not need you. Yeah, we need people on the streets who are going to stand up and unite together and who are on course, yeah, with this message, with a positive message, which ultimately for me is about recovery. yeah? We're sick of people's bullshit. All those people who've been threatening to come down today and destroy the day, yeah, and interrupt people speaking, yeah? You know, to me, that's like, it's like pissing in a church, you know what I mean? Or not that I go to church, but it's equivalent of something like that, yeah? Not one of those idiots, yeah, has turned up today, yeah? Where are they? Yeah, where are they? Yeah, all mouth. What I say to you, yeah, is stop with your bullshit, yeah? Come down, yeah, and join us and join in with what we're doing and unite together. Stop your nonsense and stop your spreading of disinformation. It's really, really dangerous. It is, yeah? That's all I've got to say about that. But I just had to like sort of get that out there, really. Yeah, a big respect to the. You're right, I didn't see that. A big respect to everybody coming today. It's really appreciated. Everybody's time and effort, what they put in for making this happen, is really appreciated. Yeah, this is just the first city that we're hitting. We're starting at the bottom and we're working our way up, literally, yeah, and geographically as well. You know, so we're coming together and we're coming for you, yeah? So thanks everybody. Yeah, so just while we're waiting for Rosie, it'd be really nice because she's like coming in a taxi and all that, and she was like a bit upset on the phone and that. So yeah, if we could just get some photos done with the banners and stuff and just like stall it a bit till she gets there, if that's alright. Thanks everybody for those people who spoke today. It's meant the world, it has.
My Voice survivors, do you want to help me?
Yeah, so we'll just do a bit of pictures and that, yeah. Nice one. We're just going to do some photos with banners. Have you put the banners on? Yeah.
I just like me look at me, you know. I'm not saying anything, I just like the look of myself on here. You get some. Cheers, buddy. Yeah, where are you from?
Deliverance.
Alright. Oh, what?
Yeah, you said the liberalists. Classical liberalism.
Right, oh,
yeah. Yeah, we bought like blind testing, prophecy, self-reliance.
Hang on, don't move. Tito! Sorry. Hang on, guys, sorry. Keep going.
Oh, yeah. Come on down here.
Well done, Marie. No more silence.
Come on, Billy.
Mate!
Mike!
Right, come on, bro.
Come on, everybody, watch this.
Mama.
Big show, come on.
Hey. Linda, come on, you. Come on,
guys.
Yeah, I'm in it.
write things down because I've got dyslexia and I tend to dissociate when I'm talking about this stuff, so bear with me. My name's Rosa Taguero. I'd like to speak about my experiences as a child growing up in an abusive environment and the impact it's had on my life and its effect generational, and how my brother and I have been greatly failed by the criminal justice system. My voice tends to shake when I'm speaking about what happened to us, but I hope that you'll be able to see through this to my strength. It's been very reassuring to see the awareness that's being raised in the media on the grooming and abuse of children, educating parents on how to protect their children and teaching them what signs to look out for if their child is being abused. Even though the majority of children that are being abused are abused within the family, this is something we hear very little of. Children are being groomed, tortured, abused in their family home at the hands of their parents, creating vulnerable children for other abusers to prey on. When a child is abused by their parents or primary caregiver, there is nowhere to go. It's never safe. As a child, who do you turn to? Child abuse is hidden behind the doors of the family home. Parents can become serial child abusers without ever having to leave their front door. The main perpetrators of these being women. They have the biggest screen to hide behind, as people cannot comprehend, they still cannot comprehend that a mother would hurt her own children. Something barely spoken of at all is child abuse in the middle and upper class families. It is only as late as the 1970s that it was acknowledged that abuse didn't just happen in poor families. Trust funds, inheritance, family reputation, well-spoken, educated and influential parents in position of power create a huge wall of silence. I am the second eldest of 5. We grew up in a mansion in North Yorkshire. From the outside it was a picture book setting. Sorry, my throat's gone all tight. Although I have some memories of abuse from that period, the abuse became extreme when my mother left my father when I was 5 and relocated us with her boyfriend, a heroin addict, to London into a squat off Charing Cross Road. Our mother's abuse became extreme. We were abused on a daily basis. She took great pleasure in causing chaos, distress, pain and terror. We went to bed in fear and we woke up in fear. At 43 years old, I still dread night times. I fear falling asleep and I wake at the slightest sound. My brother and sister began wetting the bed on a daily basis. My brother and sister began wetting their beds every night. She'd stuff socks and underwear into our mouths so that the neighbours could hear our screams, wrap us in their urine-soaked sheets and tear into us like an animal, kicking, biting and punching us so hard that she drew blood. I tried my best to protect them, but I did not stand a chance. I am still haunted by the fear on their faces and the terror in their eyes. I have destroyed myself for years, carrying the guilt for not protecting them. I felt it was my fault for not being brave enough to speak out and stop what was happening to us. We were clearly damaged children. We'd often go to school with concussion, black eyes, bite marks and bruises. I was told off by the teachers for not concentrating and falling asleep at my desk. In first year juniors, I was slapped around the face by my teacher for lying as to why we were late and what the marks were. But no one ever questioned why, and I was too afraid to tell. I couldn't concentrate in class. It was full of children being children, something I couldn't relate to at all, as I'd long become an adult. Other kids walked home laughing and chatting. We walked home in silence as we knew what we were going back to. How many children walk home in silence today? My mother had us around paedophiles and drug addicts. She and her partner would take me and my little sister, that's 2 children out of 5, to their dealer's house. It was full of men on drugs. I was hyper-vigilant as a child, but all memories from in that house are hazy. It would be daylight when we went in and nighttime when we came out, and I would not know where the day had gone. As a kid, I always tried to please my mother, make her love me and stop her from hurting us. As an adult, I tried to keep the family together, organising family Christmases, holidays and surprise birthday parties. I thought keeping us together, we could heal. I thought I could fix my mum. I had no idea what Stockholm Syndrome was. At different times, both my brother and I sought resolve. Sorry, my brother's adopted. They adopted him into the family, Dan. At different times, both my brother and I sought resolve for my mother. My brother, after trying to kill himself at university, unable to live with the trauma. And myself after 2.5 years of trauma therapy. I was dying inside. We needed answers. We needed why. She gave us nothing, leaving us no choice but to seek justice and accountability through the criminal justice system. After 2.5 years of investigation, our mother went to court with 8 charges of child abuse against her. She could afford the top law chambers in the country. I was cross-examined by my mother's defence for 2 whole days. In turn, the public prosecutor asked me just one question, leaving me unable to give the truth and full context to the jury. 8 key witnesses and vital evidence was not submitted in court. Due to lack of evidence, the sexual abuse charges did not go through. I was told that if I mentioned the sexual abuse on the stand, that the whole case was liable to be thrown out of court. Under oath, my mother admitted to biting the children. Under oath, my mother claimed that she'd accidentally slammed my head in the door. She claimed she'd accidentally fallen forwards towards my little brother, forcing his feces into his mouth. She admitted to biting the children, attacking the children, plural. Through her own admission, my mother said that there had been a sexual investigation when we were little. I watched on in shock from the public gallery. There were no further questions from the prosecutor and nothing further was said. Abusing her influential position of power, our big sister Alice Wynne Wilson, Greenpeace executive, presented herself as a trustworthy and credible witness. She took the stand in defence of our mother. Standing 3 metres away from my brother and I in the public gallery, she claimed that we were lying, that there had never been any abuse, that there was never even a raised voice in the house. She claimed that I was a crazed drug addict with false memory syndrome, and that my brother was bitter because he was adopted and has a different skin tone to the rest of the family. She said that's why we were pressing charges against our mother. She also had to admit that my mother recently had signed all her properties and finances into her name. I have never hidden the fact that at times in my life I've turned to drugs in order to suppress the painful memories from my childhood. All 5 of our siblings have gone off the rails at stages in our lives through drink, drugs and abusive relationships, including my big sister. All textbook behaviours of abused children. My sister knew what our mother was doing to us. She knew that drugs were being taken and sold. She knew the kind of men that were around her little sisters. She didn't protect us then and was covering for my mother and is covering for my mother now. She knew the horrors that were happening in that house. Watching my sister take the stand and cover for my mother. So watching my sister lie and take the stand covering for our mother was like watching a nun covering up for a paedophile priest. The jury can only deliberate their verdict on the information presented to them. They were completely unaware of the 8 key witnesses and vital evidence that the public prosecutor refused to submit in court. Our mother was acquitted of all charges. The scream I screamed out in court as our mother was cleared of all 8 charges of abuse was the scream of the oh so present child in me, silenced for all these years. Silenced again as an adult trying to give that child a voice. Alongside many other victims of abuse, my brother and I have been failed by the criminal justice system. We have suffered a gross miscarriage of justice. I was receiving support from victim support. I was receiving help from victim support during the trial, but when our mother got off and I desperately needed advice and support in filing a complaint in order to appeal for a judicial review, I was told that they could no longer help, as my mother was cleared in a court of law, and in the eyes of the law she is innocent, and we are no longer victims, considered victims of a crime. There is no support out there. My mother's partner has still not been investigated by the police. I gave the police his full name, and he told them that he is now professor teaching young adults at the university. I do not believe for 1 minute that my little sister and I are the only children that he used for his game. They said they could not locate him. Recently, a private investigator traced his full name and address in under 20 minutes. The investigation was 2.5 years long. Due to my father's work with Pink Floyd, our case was widely covered in the press. It is shocking that it takes the heading Pink Floyd in order for the press to report on a serious case of child abuse. All child abuse should be front page news. We must lift the taboo on speaking about these horrific crimes ruining children's lives. I no longer feel ashamed or that I have to hide from my childhood. The determination I had to survive as a child is what gave me the strength that I have to continue today. Many of us grew up in horrors unspeakable, still haunting us as adults today. Little kids cruelly having our innocence torn from us. Childhood was about surviving. We cannot change the past, but we can break the cycle. We must all invest in our children, love, nurture, and protect them. I would like to, my daughter couldn't be here today, she's on holiday with her boyfriend, but she'd really like me to read a poem that she wrote me, if you don't mind. Sorry to keep you all. I'm proud of my daughter and I'm proud of myself. I've managed to grow to break the cycle of abuse that I grew up in. My mother is beautiful. I'll try not to vlog. My mother is beautiful, but to stop at beautiful would be a mistake if I was to forget the rest of her. Because my mother is beautiful. She has been broken like glass, but her pieces have formed a beautiful mosaic. She is the ocean, relentless and deep, that coming back to the shore that pushes her away. She is the most soothing parts of aloe vera that grew through the drought and dryness only to produce healing and comfort. She is a mountain unmoved by unbelief, steadfast in the face of a storm. She is magnolia whose sweet scent drifts down on late summer evenings and whose presence shows that she's strong. She is a mangrove whose roots grow deep where others would drown. She is a rainbow who's all the colours of the world. She is a garden bringing life to this tired landscape. She is a flare of the night, a rescue of the lost. My mother is a hospital for the broken and the light for the tossed aside. She is tequila who sometimes burns and she tells the truth, but will never fail to make you feel better in the end. She is a pen whose limit of creation is only its creator, and well, her creator is quite limitless. My mother is intelligent, transcendent, light-hearted, soft, untameable, unshakable. How dare I ever stop at beautiful? I'd just like to end this. I would just like to end this by saying, I barely leave the house, I'm not sleeping, I'm so traumatized, I just feel broken, but I will not be silenced. My message to those of you that choose to take the innocence from children, you are free to choose, but you are not free from the consequences of your choice. May we never forget the children that lost their lives at the hands of their abusers. May we all continue to give a voice to those we lost, those still suffering, and those who survived to fight for change. Thank you.
Yeah, so massive thanks to Rosa. Thanks, love. Thanks.
I just want to expose this very quickly because I know there's cameras there. Our case is now being referred to in the papers as childhood regression therapy, false memory syndrome. I had legal documentation signed, legal documentation proving that I did not receive child regression therapy, proving I do not have false memory syndrome. The public prosecutor refused to submit it. Our case is now being used in reference in other cases where there's been claims of false memory syndrome. This is our mother. She is an evil monster, still free walking these streets. She is still free walking